What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Mr. Floyd, coming live from the Project Dream Launch Program. Hope you guys are ready. Hope you guys got your mind right, ready to get some work in, because we know the only way to achieve our goals is to put that work in. All right, so really great to see you guys, and hopefully you guys are having an amazing day so far. Let's jump right into it. Today we're talking about adding and subtracting fractions. We're going to go over adding and subtracting fractions. And so I put this objective on the screen. You can feel free to copy this down. It helps me to copy things down because it helps me kind of hear it, see it, and then write it, which allows me to further my understanding. So I'll read this out loud and you can copy it as I'm reading, or pause the video and copy it, whatever works best for you. But the objective is as follows. Students will be able to solve problems involving adding and subtracting fractions by using their common denominator strategy. So all day today, we're working on our common denominator strategy. Some of you guys may have heard about this. Some of you guys may have not heard about that. We'll cover all of that in our lesson today. Boom. Okay, now what I want you guys to do is take 1 minute. All right, take 1 minute. And I want you guys to choose from this word bank to the right and identify, which word represents the top number of the fraction and which word represents the bottom number from the fraction. The correct answer is inside this word bank. So make sure you take 1 minute by yourself right now and go ahead and try to fill in, which word from the word bank represents the top number in the fraction and the bottom number in the fraction. I give you guys 1 minute right about now. All right, thank you for taking that time. All right, now we're going to discuss which word actually represents the top number of the fraction. Is it toperator? Don't think so. Is it operator? Don't think so. Let's go ahead and check these out though, see what we got here. Oh, let's go. You guys knew it. It's the numerator and the denominator. It's the numerator and the denominator. That top number will always be called the numerator, and that bottom number will always be called the denominator. And what I also would advise you guys to do is the test taking strategy. When you're done using the word, or when you know that doesn't fit in, you can just go ahead and cross it out. Process of elimination is a really beneficial test taking strategy that I think you guys can all use. All right, but we know that our top number in our fraction is called the numerator, and the bottom number in our fraction is called the denominator. And today, we're going to work to have common denominators. We're going to use our common denominator strategy, And this strategy makes, when something's in common, that means it's the same. You know, me and my brothers, we have a common last name. Me and my wife, we have a common interest in foods. Me and my neighbor, we have a common street where we live on. So common is the same. So when we're thinking about our common denominator, we're looking to have our same denominator or that same bottom number as we go through our problems today. So I want you guys to keep that in your mind. We want to have a common denominator. And I'll write that down here just so that, it's another at bat for us, recognizing the common denominator. All right, so we want to have a common denominator as we go along today. And if you want to write down common denominator on your screen, that's fine. If not, the choice is yours. Okay, but make sure you're remembering that this common denominator is a strategy that we're using today. All right, let's keep it moving. Okay, now let's try and add this following problem. All right, and what I want you guys to do is try this on your own. All right, and you guys may be saying, wait a second, I never did this before, so I don't even want to try, or I don't want to be wrong, or there may be a lot of different mindsets around taking risks. And I want to encourage every single student here, we have to take risks in order for us to grow. Before a baby's able to walk, the baby has to crawl. And when the baby's crawling, the baby might fall over a couple times, or it might try to stand up and fall on its bottom, but the baby takes that risk. And in taking risks, the baby learns. Now, I'm not saying anyone here is a baby. I hope not, at least. But what I am saying is that we do have to take risks. We have to take risks. So, with that being said, I want you guys to have the mindset of, you know what? When I take a risk, I'm going to learn. When I take a risk, I may make a mistake, and mistakes aren't bad. Mistakes are lessons that we learn from. So, we're going to go ahead and take a risk right now, take a chance right now, and try to solve this problem right here, right now. So, I'll give you guys about a minute, 1 minute for you guys to go ahead and try to solve the problem on your own. 1 minute. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that. Now let's talk this through. So I'm thinking that most students are going to end up doing this. 2 plus 3 is 5. And then 4 plus 6 is 10. And this strategy is partially right. It has some of the components of the common denominator strategy, but doesn't have all the components, because the one red flag, the one red alert, the one piece that we're missing here is our common denominator. Right now, our denominator is 4, and the other denominator is 6. We want to have that common or that same denominator. So we want to make sure what I'm going to teach you guys in this next slide is how we use our common denominator strategy to solve adding and subtracting fractions. So what I want you guys to do is you can go ahead and erase this slide, or I'll move us over to the next slide. But if your answer was 5/10, I just want you to know that that was partially correct, but that is not the correct answer here. All right, let's go ahead and figure out what our correct answer is going to be. All right, guys. Now you might say, wait a second, this is the same problem. Yes, it is. All right, what I want you guys to do is I'm going to take this nice and slow. This is called a model. It's called a modeling strategy. And when I'm modeling it, what goes on my paper, I'm going to make sure that we see that on your paper as well. That's on your slide as well. All right, so I'm going to model. I'm going to take my time so that way everything is crystal clear and crisp in your brain. All right, but I just want to make sure that you guys are following along with the strategies, because if you're not following along, it becomes a little more difficult to comprehend and to understand that problem. All right, so here we go. My first step is I'm going to square this. I'm going to square this first fraction, or make a rectangle on this first fraction, because that's the first fraction that I'm looking to use. That's the fraction I'm going to be looking to use first. So I'll say, okay. Now I'll draw my square. I got my rectangle or my square. All right, I'll call it a rectangle. And we're going to draw 2 arrows, both pointing at the denominator of the other fraction. I have 2 arrows drawn here, both pointing to the denominator of the other fraction. Now you might say, what in the world are these arrows talking about? What is going on with these arrows? And I got you. All right, I got you. Now our arrows are going to represent multiplication. Our arrows are going to represent multiplication. So what we're going to do is, I know everybody right now knows what 2 times 6 is. So my first step was to do 2 times 6. And we know that's going to be 12, so I'll put a 12 right here. And then I have to do 4 times 6. And I see a lot of students make the mistake where they just do 2 times 6 and then put a 4 in the denominator. But that's not how we want to solve this problem. We have 2 arrows for a reason. So we're going to do 2 times 6 and 4 times 6. And 4 times 6, you guys know, is 24. Perfect. So now we have completed our common denominator strategy for our first fraction. And we have to go to our second fraction now and do the same strategy. So I have to erase some of these arrows. Let me go ahead and erase this arrow in here. I'll keep my blue, and I want you guys to notice that the blue aligns with the blue as far as my colors. The blue here is represented by the blue here. All right, and so we'll choose the red and we'll go to our second. We'll go to our second fraction now. Now I draw my second fraction in red. Now I draw my two arrows. One arrow, two arrows. Remember, point the arrows to the opposite denominator or to the denominator of the other fraction. Point those arrows to the denominator of the other fraction. I know you guys remember what we just did. You guys told me that we did 2 times 6 and 4 times 6. But that's showing me that the arrows mean multiplication. So we have our arrows here once again, and that means multiplication. So we'll go ahead and do 3 times 4. We'll start off with doing 3 times 4. And you guys know what 3 times 4 is. That's going to be 12. And then I know you may be tempted to go ahead and put the 6 right here, but nope, that is not what we're going to do. We're going to do 6 times 4. We did 3 times 4. Now we're going to do 6 times 4. And you guys know what 6 times 4 is. 6 times 4 is going to be, that's right, 24. Let me go ahead and get my marker. Okay, so now we've completed my first fraction. I have my first fraction completed. I have my second fraction completed. Now, I'm missing a couple things. What I want you guys to remember is the sign that goes in between these two, which is the addition sign. Can't forget that addition sign. And now we have to solve. Now we have to solve. And this strategy is called our common denominator strategy. Why? Because we want to make sure we have common denominators all throughout the problem. So looking at my denominators right now, are these denominators common? Yes, these are common. 24 and 24 are the same. And we want to keep common denominators throughout the entire problem. So for my answer, I'll put my common denominator right on the bottom, 24. You may be tempted to add for the answer, but we're going to keep that common denominator. That's why we call it the common denominator strategy. And now with my numerator, this is why I said you were partially correct in your example or in our earlier example. Because in our numerator, we're just going to add. And we know that 12 plus 12 is going to be 24. So my answer is 24 over 24 or 1 whole. I'll put the 1 right here. You can put 24 over 24 or 1. And that's how we're going to solve our problem with adding fractions. You find your common denominators. You then add your numerators and you solve. All right. Now, what I want you guys to do is we're gonna take a try on this on our own. I want you guys to take, actually, let's go to our next slide. Let's go to our next slide. I want you guys to take 2 minutes and try this problem on your own. Remember to use your common denominator strategy. Remember to use that common denominator strategy. All right, guys. Now, thank you so much for trying that on your own and taking that risk. I know we talked earlier about getting smarter by taking risks. And I can already tell that some of us are getting smarter or getting a deeper understanding of the content because we took that risk. So, proud of you. Very proud of you guys. All right, now here we go. I'm going to breeze through this a little faster than the last time. If I'm going too fast, you can be sure to rewind the video or go back to our last slide and check it out. All right, now here we go. I'm going to go ahead and draw my rectangle and my 2 arrows. I know the arrows represent multiplication, so 2 times 10 is 20, and then 3 times 10 is 30. And I want to put that 30 right here in the red. All right, cool. Now my next step is to work on my second fraction. Now I'm going to draw a blue rectangle around my second fraction. I got my arrows pointing to the opposite denominator, or the denominator from the other fraction. And now I have to do some multiplication because the arrows mean multiplication. And 9 times 3 is 27. That should be 27 over 10. Right? Wrong. We should not be doing 27 over 10. It should be 27 over 30. So now we take a good look at our problem. I know that I almost have everything there. We can't forget that addition sign. And we'll do our final check. Are my denominators common? I see 30 and 30. Yep, that's common. Okay. So now for my answer, I know that we want to have, this is the common denominator strategy. So we will keep our denominator common in the entire problem. All right, so now we know that the denominator for our answer is going to be 30. Then we just have to add 20 plus 27, and that's going to be 47. So our answer is 47 over 30. If you got that correct, you should give yourself a big pat on your back. All right, you guys are adding fractions, which is not easy. All right, we're going to keep it pushing, guys. We're going to keep it pushing. Okay, now what I want you guys to do is try, this is some partner work. I'm not sure if you're watching this live or if you're maybe watching this as a pre-recorded to the live lesson, but I want you guys to get some partner practice in here. I want you guys to work on these problems on your own. Take 2 minutes on your own to solve the problems, and then we will review. 2 minutes, my timer's on right now. All right, guys, so hopefully you guys took that time to answer those questions. All right, and I just want to go ahead and review these questions for time's sake. So our first fraction, we should have done 1 times 10, which is 10, and 4 times 10, which is 40. Then for our second fraction, we want to do 5 times 4, which is 20, and 10 times 4, which is 40. We then drop down our addition symbol, and we're going to make sure we follow our common denominator strategy. We want the denominators to all be the same. I see that all my denominators are the same. And then we want to make sure that we add our numerators. So we do 10 plus 20, and that's going to be 30. All right, 10 plus 20, and that's going to be 30. Now going over here, we do the same type of strategy. All right, we have 2 times 5, which is 10. We have 4 times 5, which is 20. All right, then we do 1 times 4, which is 4, and 5 times 4, which is 20. We drop down our addition sign. We remember our common denominator strategy, knowing that 20, 20, and 20 are all common denominators. All right, and then we add our numerator, which is 10 plus 4, and that's going to be 14. All right, we got that one right. You should give yourself a big round of applause. Big round of applause. I'm proud of you guys for getting both of those right. All right, here we go. Let's go to our next slide. Whoa, Mr. Floyd. What if we were to subtract? All right, guys, this is where it's time to take that risk again. It's time to take that risk. We're going to still use our common denominator strategy that we've been using all day today. We're still going to use that. But I want you guys right now to try to take 1 minute and let's just focus on this first problem. I know I gave you 2 problems there. I want you guys just to focus on this first problem, though. If you finish early, you can go ahead and work to the second problem. But just take 1 minute and finish on this. Focus on this first problem. How would we solve this problem if we were to subtract using our common denominator strategy? All right, you guys know the drill. We use the same strategy. We use the exact same strategy. We go ahead and we look at our first fraction. We draw our arrows. The arrows mean multiplication. So 6 times 4 is 24. 10 times 4 is 40. Okay. Then we go to our second fraction. Oopsie daisy. Go to our second fraction. And we do 1 times 10 and 4 times 10. And 1 times 10 is 10. 4 times 10 is 40. But this time, you may be tempted to put a plus sign there, but please, please, please don't do that. Remember, we're not adding this time, we are subtracting. So we want to remember, whatever that symbol is, we're going to drop that symbol down. And so now we're still using our common denominator strategy. So we know that when our denominator is 40 and 40, our denominator for our answer is going to be 40 as well. This is our common denominator strategy. And we also have to do some subtraction. We have 24 minus 10. 24 minus 10. All right, 24 minus 10 is going to be, you got it, 14. So our final answer is going to be 14 over 40. I want you guys to take a moment and try this second problem on your own. All right, guys. Now, I just went ahead and put the final answer on the screen for you guys. We did 3 times 4, which was 12, 5 times 4, which was 20, and we did 1 times 5, which was 5, and 4 times 5, which is 20 as well. We kept our common denominator strategy. All right, we for the answer, we do 20, 20, 20, and 20, common denominators. We do 12 minus 5, and that's 7. So therefore, our answer is 7 over 20. All right, or 7/20. If you got that one correct, give yourself a hoo, 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 hoo. All right, not too loud, not too loud. Don't wake the neighbors. All right, let's go to our next slide. All right, guys, now I want you to try these problems on your own. Remember, check whether the operation is addition or subtraction. Take 3 minutes on your own to try these problems. And once you're done with the 3 minutes, the answers will be on the screen. Our timer's on. Here we go. All right, guys. So here's our answers to our work here. All right, I know the second problem was a repeat, but hopefully you guys got some more practice and you notice that you can use common denominator strategy to solve the problems. So our first answer is going to be 0. All right, 20 minus 20 is 0/50ths or 0. You also can call that undefined. We'll talk about that in later lessons. All right. And then over here, we know 12 over 20 minus 5/20 equals 7/20. And I want you guys to remember the common denominator strategy. We want to have our denominators common. We want to have the same denominator, the common denominator strategy. All right, so we're almost done here, y'all. All right, we have some challenge problems that I want you guys to try on your own. And then after the challenge problems, we can go ahead to the exit ticket. All right, we have a challenge problem. So I'll give you guys, 5 minutes for these challenge problems, 5 minutes. All right, guys, take a close look. These are the answers to our challenge problems. All right, we have 21 times 21 is 21. 4 times 21 is 84. 6 times 4 is 24, and 21 times 4 is 84. Do 21 plus 24, and that's 45. 84 plus 84. We're not doing that. We're finding a common denominator strategy. All right, we do 84, 84, and 84. That's our common denominator. So therefore, our common denominator is going to be 84, and our answer is 45/84. Moving on to our next problem, we have 120 over 288. Sorry, 20 times 6 is 120. 48 times 6 is 288. We jump over here. We do 5 times 48 is 240, and 6 times 48 is 288. You could use a calculator or pencil and paper for this one, but it would have been a little difficult doing this one in your head. That's why it's a challenge problem. We then add our numerator, 120 plus 240 is 360, and we keep our common denominator the same. So I would call this the common denominator strategy. All right, so the answer is 360 over 288, or 360 288. All right, guys, time for our exit ticket. All right, guys, here you go. You guys got these last two problems on your own. I'll give you guys should take 3 minutes to try these two problems. All right, my timer's on in 3, 2, 1. Let's go to work. All right, guys, this is the answer to your exit ticket. All right, answer to your exit ticket. We did 9 times 2, that's 18, and 10 times 2, that's 20. We did 1 times 10, that's 10, and 2 times 10, that's 20. All right, we then kept our common denominator, which is 20, and we added our numerator. 18 plus 10, that's 28. Moving to our second problem, the same common denominator strategy. We did 6 times 4, which is 24, 10 times 4, which is 40. Then we did 1 times 10, which is 10, and 4 times 10, which is 40. Now, we have ourselves the common denominator strategy. We do 40, 40, and 40. Our denominators are common. And then we do our subtraction, which is 24 minus 10, and that is 14. Hopefully you guys were able to take some risks and learn a little bit more about adding and subtracting fractions. All right, if you have any questions or concerns, you can definitely see us in class live tomorrow. We'll be going over this and some additional problems, just getting us some more work on adding and subtracting problems. Thank you guys so much for listening, for taking risks, for trying your best, because we appreciate that. Remember, we cannot achieve our goals without putting in that work. So always put in that work. Always keep dreaming. Always keep chasing your dreams. All right, because you know we got your back. All right, we're going to chase our dreams too. All right, you guys, have a great afternoon. Love you guys. See y'all in the next one.